How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Many NBA players gets bashed way too heavily. The amount of criticism and a couple disappointing performances combined with the name callings can be way too overblown at times. There's always going to be stars who don't have the best seasons but bounce back way better than many anticipated. Some of the old superstars, for example, like a Chris Paul, who was considered overrated after the 2019 season with that massive contract. Turns out he was never overrated to begin with, and anybody still believing that narrative is just a hater at this point. Many players drafted very high in the draft might have gotten off to slow starts in their careers, but have figured it out. Judging 19-year-olds coming into the league right away, too much remains to be determined. By the time they're playing for a contract extension, that's when many of them usually start to shine. With that said, here are 10 players today who went from being called overrated by many to now considered being underrated and underappreciated, and yet the media still never talks about them being underrated now. Starting with Demar DeRozan, who's been fantastic with the Chicago Bulls, one of the best mid-range jumpers the game has seen, battled through rough times, been under the radar for the irrelevant Spurs last couple seasons. Nobody expected DeMar to become an all-star type level player again after the 2018 season with Toronto, had a phenomenal regular season only to suffer his lowest moment, being a no-show in the 2018 semis, a 59-win team getting swept out the second round, to being benched by Dwayne Casey to add to the humiliation. After 9 seasons with Toronto, DeMar claimed the team promised to keep him but gambled and got rid of him for the questionable Kawhi Leonard coming off injury. After Leonard helped the franchise win a title, DeMar got even more backlash, have not won a playoff series since, now considered an early MVP candidate, rewriting his career and playing his best basketball at age 32. DeMar making a case for being the 3rd best player in the 2009 draft behind Steph Curry and James Harden. Given how impactful he still is, first 24 games, 26.5 points on 50% shooting. His 3 also slightly improved, continuously delivers clutch jumpers for the Red Hot Bulls, a record of 16-8 with him. Many, including myself, believe he was going to be a weird fit next to Zach LaVine, but so far one of the best duos in the entire association, making huge statements, scoring 35 and 38 respectively in double-digit road wins over his hometown Clippers and Lakers, believing he was going to head to LA before they decided on Russ Westbrook. Low-key, one of the best one-on-one isolation players. DeMar can get a shot off anybody when confident and aggressive, also making a stronger case for his Hall of Fame status. Andrew Wiggins, who got tons of backlash, going way too far by some of the mainstream, utterly ridiculous slanders like this.
And the other day I brought up about Andrew Wiggins on the jump when I said I'd give him away for a box of cookies.
Funny how these same people never like to acknowledge Wiggins when he's playing well. Being a former #1 pick with all the expectations to becoming a top 5 player based on athleticism and talent, Wiggins played for arguably the worst franchise, a dysfunctional front office Timberwolves, looked passive and unmotivated. Even legends like Kevin Garnett only got out the first round 1 time with the franchise, and look what happened when he went to Boston. A bad culture led to discouragement, boos from Wolves fans when missing free throws, and having a quiet personality. If Wiggins was picked between 3rd to 6th, nobody would ever be criticizing him. Now becoming one of the most impactful key players on a team with the best record in the league, the best culture, improved his outside shooting, defense has been underrated and good enough to one day perhaps make an all-defensive team. Things that was in the scouting report and upside coming into the league, coming into fruition right now. 2 years ago, if anybody was to ask who's the most overrated player in the NBA, many would say Andrew Wiggins. Being super gifted and wasted as a passive bystander with Minnesota, Golden State bringing the best out of him, still only 26 and likely not even in his prime yet in year 9, been very durable, way more efficient, could very well be the X factor in Golden State's chances in winning a title. The bust narrative for Wiggins should never be mentioned again, although he won't ever be a top 5 player grade. Some thought he'd be. Still very good, respectable, mainly guards the best players on the other team. Two-way Wiggins impact impeccable, continues to fly under the radar. Superstar teammate Steph Curry might be in the MVP discussions, but Wiggins still slept on. The critics remain silent, but gotta give credit when it's due.
They still don't want to give this brother Andrew Wiggins his credit. This kid is playing out of his mind. This kid is on a winning team. I just don't get why we can't never change the narrative when players start showing and proving Why can't we come off the narrative that you put out?
Karl-Anthony Towns. Last couple years extremely tough for him. All the adversity and tragedy. Towns couldn't seem to catch a break. Having another stellar season. Wolves a little bit better. Averages of over 24 and 9. Towns will go down as one of the best outside shooting bigs the game has seen. The two-time All-Star deserves to make it back to the All-Star team. Absolutely destroyed Anthony Davis. Towns considered one of the most overrated players for a few years. After a stellar first couple seasons, the defense hasn't always been positive. Combined with the Jimmy Butler fiasco, Towns' reputation took a huge hit. Still playing for an awful franchise, still seeking for a culture. Towns only 26. He's not in the same category as the other bigs of Jokic and Embiid, but in the same discussion with Rudy Gobert. Alex Caruso, who's made a huge name for himself playing for the Lakers, became the NBA's most hyped role player, and some didn't like how he was getting all the attention. Many believe AC would become irrelevant after taking his talents to the Bulls. The team offered him a much better deal than the Lakers. Caruso now playing his best ball, making all the winning plays, active, superb on D, brings the winning attitude, infectious on both ends of the floor, up there in steals, can absolutely impact the game without scoring a single point. Lakers bench defense nowhere near the same without him. Being undrafted out of Texas A&M, anybody who watched AC play in college knew how good he was. The Lakers, being awful towards the 2019 season, decided to give Caruso minutes, proved worthy of being an NBA player. Then the hype arose, the nice couple dunks, being a sensation overnight, but now becoming truly one of the ultimate role players. Some of his best work defending guys like Steph Curry, a nightmare for many guards when he checks them. You can say Caruso plays like a white Marcus Smart out there, a Bulls fan favorite already, brings that Kurt Heinrich type energy, and looking like a huge bargain for 4 years, a true professional in the definition of earning everything from hard work. 10 years down the line, an Alex Caruso documentary wouldn't surprise me, given all the love. Lonzo Ball, who was called overrated for the longest time because he was a number 2 pick, wasn't great right away at 19, too much expectations, had an ugly shot at first but worked on it over time, a pass first type guard, terrific on D, might never average more than 18 points a game in any season, but the all-around impact, and now shooting over 40% from deep, Ball has become a very respectable outside shooter. At times might be used as a 3-and-D wing with solid playmaking, natural defensive instincts, can play a multitude of ways. Although his half-court offense still needs improvement, all the attention focused on LaVine and DeRozan. Ball will be the one knocking down huge shots, as we already seen. Just recently turned 24, making the Pelicans regretting letting him go. Now he'll have a chance to play for a playoff caliber team. Kristaps Porzingis, being in trade talks for a while, looking better under Coach Kidd than Coach Carlisle, already has a couple 30-point games. After struggling to find his rhythm, still very dangerous when he gets the ball, great scorer playing the 4, over 7 foot. Many try to compare Bol to KP, don't actually realize how much better KP actually is. Porzingis also having a better year than New York's Julius Randle, regained some mobility on D, the athleticism closer to what it was back in 2018. The question remains whether KP can remain healthy for a long stretch. Dallas been patient with him after being bashed for the Clippers series and not getting any post touches because of Carlisle. Many demanded Dallas trade him for role players, but Porzingis still very star caliber worthy, still seems very forgotten and under the radar. Draymond Green, who was called overrated when Curry and Clay both went down and Golden State was losing heavily, but with good players, Green does a little bit of everything. His vocal leadership, impeccable. How much credit will Green actually get for revitalizing Andrew Wiggins' career? High IQ in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year. Many thought he was washed, but the eye test says otherwise. Although he passes up open shots and passive when looking to score, Green will go down as one of the best passing power forwards the game has ever seen. Never seems to get praise for his playmaking. An 8-8-8 guy, making the best of his Dennis Rodman type impact. Very unselfish and energetic. For a few years, his role limited due to Golden State being way too stacked with Durant, but now Draymond in familiar territories, playing the role and excelling back like it was 2015 and 16. If he's able to hit open shots like Game 7 of the 2016 finals, Golden State will have a real chance at winning the 2022 title. Tyler Herro, perhaps the fame got into his head after a subpar second year, from an impressive bubble run to off-the-court distractions covered by the media, becoming one of the best six-man candidates, second leading scorer in Miami, average over 20 a game, first 32 games, still only 21. After comparing himself with young stars, believing he should be in the conversation with Doncic, Trey, and John Moran, Herro's been stepping up ever since, taking advantage of a good culture, still hasn't been talked about much. Deandre Ayton, after a successful 2021 postseason, the bashing going #1 over Luka and Trey has slowed down. Once criticized for his lack of defense and putting up numbers that didn't translate to winning, the franchise had no culture before CP3's arrival. Ayton's been the opposite of what the critics believed. His defense rookie year wasn't good, but putting the work to make adjustments a huge stepping stone, because guys like Doncic, a generational type talent, DA has been respectable in his own right, was looked down upon after a 25-game suspension to start year 2. Now a huge piece for Phoenix at the starting 5. He might not be the most gifted #1 pick in recent years, but up there in the center position with the Rudy Goberts and Jonas Valanciunas of the world, had a stellar first postseason and gave Anthony Davis that work. A guy at the right place at the right time. Phoenix don't run any offensive plays for Ayton, but able to take advantage and punish small lineups with his size, proving he's willing to listen. With a leader in CP3, Ayton was considered a defensive liability with a questionable motor in the 2018 draft, but now more respectable on D, being able to hang with guys like Jokic in the playoffs. Paul George, the bubble disaster, his lowest NBA moment, having a decent 2021 year, named an all-star, average over 23, 6, and 5, first 24 games of this season, 25, 7, and 5 guy since the bubble meltdown. George has been playing a lot better than Anthony Davis over the last 12 months, helped his team win 2 games without Kawhi in the Phoenix series, and on his way to becoming a future Hall of Famer. Honorable mentions includes Ricky Rubio, provided strong leadership and vet presence for the younger Cavs, having a strong start, while Reggie Jackson was considered overrated in his Detroit days, didn't play well under Doc Rivers, but excelling under Ty Lue changed his perception, while Grayson Allen, the most hated player during college, proving his impact in the NBA. Anthony Edwards, who many analytic nerds bashed for his inefficient rookie season, playing like all-star caliber worthy, one of the most exciting players in the game, while JaVale McGee, considered a meme for many years, the Shaq in the Fool moments, the soon-to-be 34-year-old, now averaging over 10 and 7 for Phoenix, the CP3 impact. McGee literally might have likely become an all-star if he played with CP3 way back then. He's older than DeAndre Jordan in age, but way better now than DJ, and the fact that CP3 turned DJ into an all-star and a former All-NBA first teamer, absolutely bizarre. McGee making his strong impact even at this late stage of his career's 3 titles and counting. What other players have you heard many label overrated over the years and now consider underrated and still doesn't get their praise? Let me know in the comments below. What are also some guys that's being called overrated today that you believe will be considered underrated in a few years? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk everything related to NBA basketball, so if you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button for more content. I love all of you. See you next time.